Welcome to Sports Conversation with James Navalance on the Believe Network. And joining us today is Bradley Jacks, Quinnipiac University men's basketball assistant. I got to know him well through our time with Top Connect. Robbie San, our GA program, was that 3 years ago at this point. And
Yeah,
Bradley's just, going up the ranks at this point. But I just want to start this out really by people going within your background. So take me to, growing up high school wise, and then obviously going to Babson and then the success you had there.
yeah, for sure. Well, James, first off, thank you for having me on the podcast today. Appreciate it. Well, yeah, man, let's get into it. I guess for me, I'm a PG County kid, born and raised PG County, Maryland. Played high school basketball at Gonzaga College High School with head coach Steve Turner, well-known head coach, kind of in that DMV area. I'd say, I was a good high school player, not a great high school player. I worked hard. I got to guard guys like Chris Jenkins every day. Was around really elite Division One college basketball players. So, I've seen high level basketball, played against some of top teams in the country every year on a national schedule. So, I kind of knew what it was like to compete at the highest level just from that standpoint. We played the Bishop Gormans of the world. Our rivals were DeMatha. So, definitely I've been around high level basketball my whole life. And kind of going to my senior year that summer, I hurt my foot. So I really didn't have, had Division One interest, but I didn't have any D1 offers. And then kind of played out the summer, got my first D2 offer, and a bunch of D2s, D3s, played out the season. Ended up going on a visit to Babson College, fell in love with it, and knew that's where I wanted to be. And so kind of from there, just played at Division III basketball. My mindset was, I wanted to really just be the best I could be the best version of myself. And one thing I remember that was always in my head was AAU practice. Nolan Smith, assistant coach at Louisville right now, he came back and talked to us. And I remember one of the things that really resonated with me when he spoke to us was how when he was a freshman at Duke, the main reason why he didn't play was because he wasn't vocal enough. I remember him saying that. And so that kind of always sat with me in my head. And I kind of told myself going into my first practice, I don't care if I'm bad. I don't care what happens. I'm going to be the loudest person. I'm going to make my presence felt. So that's kind of what I did from day one. And, luckily my freshman year was six man, kind of right off the bench playing. And that freshman year, I was able to go to a Final Four. And after that, just, a ton of success, Sweet 16 my junior or sophomore year, and then junior year able to, compete again for a national championship and able to win the whole thing. So, it was an awesome college career. I wouldn't trade it for the world. It's definitely fun. I had a lot of great teammates. I learned a lot about myself, and I was happy to be able to share with other guys who were just, committed to, putting in the work and winning. So, my college career, it was all in all, I'm happy with the decision I made for sure.
How would you describe being around essentially a winner kind of your whole entire life? Like you're in the DMV, that competitive nature at Gonzaga, like that DMV area is obviously legit for high school basketball, and then going to Babson and then getting to a Final Four, winning a national championship. Like, how important do you think it is for you specifically to be around winning early on, and now kind of, especially now as a coach, bringing that kind of to Quinnipiac and bringing that to players that you work with, being, having that experience of, being around winning all the time.
Yeah. Man, I'd say I definitely looked up to the guys I played with, my teammates, because, they had, I say even high school, the guys like Chris Jenkins, Brian Crawford, Tavon Blackman, Nate Britt, Charles Glover, guys like that. Like they had Division One offers. And at the time, I was younger, so I was like, man, like, what do I have to do? Like, let me see, like, try to take note of what they did and kind of their work ethic. And, it's the way they competed, they're always had it on. Even playing with Joey Flannery at Babson, guys like that, like they just always had it on. They what they were thinking, their work ethic, the way they approach, a workout or a conditioning drill, something so minute or even a walkthrough. It's different. And I think, kind of having that mindset of, not being outworked and um, just putting in the work really kind of separated them. So for me, I wanted to really embody that with the way I worked. I know I spent many summers doing 2 workouts a day, sometimes three workouts a day. And going into my senior year, me and Joey became closer, working out over the summer, kind of with BABC and getting our own work in. So, I kind of had a hand in seeing what it was like to work. So it's a mindset thing with winning, because winning is uncommon. It's not a common thing. It's very hard to do.
Yeah, and I would say this from, my experience equally as a coach, being around players, being out in Phoenix this past summer, around college guys preparing for the NBA draft, being around NBA guys. I'd say this to everyone, like the biggest separator is that mentality piece, and you can't
Sure.
ingrain a mentality in somebody, but I think being around that, being in that environment, I think breeds, you know, ultimately your mentality eventually. And,
Most
and
definitely.
that kind of creates those habits and then creates success. So I think it's, invaluable for you that you've had this experience just being around winning because it creates
Mhm.
that, just mentality of like, okay, this is how it gets done. Rather than if you're in an environment where, chaos is going on, you're not winning, there people are getting in trouble, like you
Mhm.
kind of get lost in the shuffle. But there, if you get lost in the shuffle, like you're so obviously out of place, so it's either
Yeah.
you're gonna fit in or you gotta fit out. And I think,
Mhm.
being around winning is something that really everyone needs to be around at some point to ultimately reach your own, success.
For sure. For sure.
Now, yeah. Take me through now your development kind of as a coach. Randolph Macon, and then you go to Quinnipiac and do the GA program, ops, assistant coach, and just your development overall in that aspect.
Yeah, for sure. I guess looking back at it, a big part of my development really did come when I was at Randolph Macon. I think it really taught me how to work, taught me how to grind. I was lucky there because I had a really good boss, Josh Merkel, who kind of, he trusted me with a lot. He gave me a lot of responsibility when I was there to do, a lot of things when it came to recruiting, operations, stuff dealing with camp, on the court stuff. At the time, I was, 22, 23 years old. So, I didn't know much. It was my first time being an assistant coach, even scouting responsibility. And, I just didn't want to, for me, I knew making that decision to go to Randolph Macon, I could really understand if coaching basketball is something I truly wanted to do, especially at the collegiate level. And, for me, my first sense of doing it came kind of into my junior year. I was like, I could see myself coaching down the road. And I guess kind of before I made that decision to go to Macon, it was I told myself, this is the year, like I'm gonna dedicate myself to like, be the best I can be as an assistant coach, kind of, and this will allow me to understand if, I want to continue to pursue a career in basketball or go, work in the regular business world. But yeah, so I guess in terms of my development as a coach, I'd say learning how to grind, um, how to kind of be efficient, how to be organized, kind of started when I was at Macon. And then kind of from there on, getting to Quinnipiac, was an awesome opportunity for me to be as a GA, to have like a different role, different responsibilities, but same grind. So, the tasks were different, but I had to be really good at it. So if it was, this guy has to be here at a certain time, like, making sure I communicate with them, um, to make sure you had to be at a doctor's appointment on time, whether it was helping out, making sure guys were in class, wherever I could do, whether it was, just rebounding, like being an elite rebounder, like making good passes, um, that was kind of my mindset with that. It was, I'm not too good to do anything. I think sometimes we feel like some things may be beneath us, but like for me, it was like I was at the bottom of the totem pole, and so that's how I treated it. I was like, if I had that mentality, I was at the bottom of the totem pole, then nothing can break me. So I think with that mindset, um, I was willing and to do everything. I try to take, you know, um, try to take advantage of every opportunity I had to, show that I was committed. I think just in terms of coaching, I paid attention a lot during practice, taking notes every day, kind of understanding what we were doing as a team. And I think my GA and year at Macon kind of really helped me. And then in terms of last year being video, I'd say it was probably, I can't even really equate to how much I learned just from basketball by watching so much film and understanding plays and breakdowns and, different types of defenses. I think last year I kind of just boosted my understanding of the game to a whole new level. So I think every position I've had, in the support staff role, I've been grateful for because, you know, if I wanted to do it all over again, I'd do it the exact same way. I wouldn't want to change it. So I think every role I've had from video to GA to assistant D3 coach, I'm truly grateful for, and it's had played a huge role in kind of my development each step of the way.
No, that's really empowering stuff because, I've been there, you've been there. Like, it's your ability to make an impact in any area. And, having that mentality of, no rule is too small. Whether it's, swiping up sweat, rebounding, video, are they in class? Can you get them to a doctor's appointment? It's really trying to just be as really, helpful in any area, and having
Hmm.
really a selfless mentality. I think that might be the biggest thing, is just being completely selfless and removing all ego, because
For sure.
you'll see it at times. People have egos, and that kind of gets in the way of kind of the bigger picture. But I feel like if you can remove that from your own agenda, like you sacrifice so much more, and it ultimately is so much greater for the people around you, your team, specifically your players. I mean, everybody around it. How would you say each coach that you've been around at Randolph-Macon, now under Coach Dunleavy at Quinnipiac, what would you say their impact and really the importance of working for a great coach, a great boss?
Oh, sorry. Just the importance of their impact is what you're asking.
Yeah, just really their impact and really getting to work for a really good boss. Just not working
Yeah.
for anybody.
I mean, that thing is important. I think, a lot of people, well, let me put it like this. I think just in working in basketball, like, it's about relationships. And I think, I kind of thought about it. I went to places where I was looking to be a GA. And I think kind of right early on, the one thing I observed is what is the relationship between the head coach and another GA or a manager or, someone in a support staff position. Like, is there a relationship there? Like, do they actually know them? Like, how do they interact? So for me, relationships are huge. So I think, the way I met Josh Merkel, he recruited me out of high school. I actually had his recruiting voicemail that he left on my phone when he recruited me. But, I reconnected with him at NC State basketball camp. He came up and talked to me. And I think before he even knew I was interested in coaching, he was more interested in me as a person. So I think, developing a personal relationship is huge because it's just the way you can build trust with someone. Um, in terms of that, it's the same with Coach Dunleavy. I think we have a really strong relationship, and it's definitely grown ever since I've gotten to Quinnipiac. The trust has been there. The way we connect. Both of those guys, I think, genuinely they do genuinely care for me and my well-being. And I think, being able to understand that and to have that for me, I want to do more for those guys, and they care about not just me as a person, but my development and kind of where I'm going. But it's been awesome. Times when times got tough for me, I could call Coach Merkel and be like, hey, like, do you have a second to talk? And he'd pick up the phone any time of day. And same thing, I can call Coach Dunleavy and talk with him. So those personal relationships are huge because I think it's just important to building what we're trying to do, as coaches is to win and make an impact, and it motivates you. It's like each place, being at Macon and being at Quinnipiac, are places like I generally wake up and I'm happy to go to every day. So I think the biggest thing is quality of life. When you're kind of moving through the coaching industry, and I didn't quite understand it early on, but now I understand the importance of it.
No, that's extremely valuable stuff, especially the relationship piece. I feel like that's the reason really all coaches should be in it, right? Like it's all about impacting the players that we're serving kind of every day. It is a two-way relationship, but ultimately, like, we're coaches. We're supposed to be a step above, right?
Mhm.
And if we don't have that proper outlook for our players and their development and who they are as people, and the relationship side of working with the staff and having that, it's all really important. And I feel
Exactly.
like there is aspects of this industry where that does get removed, where it's just, let's just get guys in, let's go into the transfer portal, let's just get guys that are going to help us win. And
Mhm.
I think we can lose sight of ultimately the bigger picture. But I love that you brought up, the relationship piece, because I personally believe that's the most important.
Okay.
Now, in terms of Quinnipiac, this season coming up, obviously, we're all getting ready, scrimmages, exhibitions. What is it looking like?
Mhm.
What are your kind of expectations for your team this year coming in?
I think I do have high expectations for our group. I think we return a lot of talented pieces. You know, Matt Bellant, Desi Jones, Louis Courtwright, Tyrese Williams, Savion Lewis, Ty Machinery, like a very older group of guys that are mature that have been in our conference for the past 2, 3, 4 years. So they kind of know what it is, know what to expect. I think being in the MAC, it's funny. You talk about winning earlier. I never knew how hard winning was till I got to Quinnipiac, and it's interesting, man. You play in the MAC night in and night out. It is a grind of a conference. You play a Friday, Sunday schedule, quick turnarounds. You could go play Iona one night and be in a dogfight, and then turn around the next night, go play a Canisius, Niagara, Fairfield, doesn't matter, whoever, and you're going to be in a dogfight every night. Like every team is super talented in this league, and they got good competitors. And I think it's being at the Division 3 level. I don't know what it was. Maybe I lost sight of it, but winning is a tough thing to do. But I'm excited about this group. I think we're super talented. We have depth, which is important. It's important making those runs and staying healthy. I think the past couple years have been tough to us. Just trying to be able to stay healthy. So our guys are mature now. They know how to take care of their bodies. They're doing the right thing. So I have high expectations for this group, and I believe they can live up to it. And I think we just have to continue to be demanding of them, and they want that challenge. So when guys want that challenge to be held to a higher standard, great things happen. And so for them, it's just the ability to respond every day and be coached, which they've been doing an awesome job of so far. And I'm excited. It's a grind from now till March. It's going to be a roller coaster, but this is why we're in it. It's fun. So I'm definitely
No,
excited.
no, absolutely. Like we all know, like it starts here in November and it just doesn't stop. You know what I mean? But you got guys that are willing to buy in, guys that are willing to put in that work, and ultimately you have that buy-in. You're like, yep, I'll go to war with my team. You know what I mean? You know what
Mhm.
you're getting. You're getting that consistency. You just want guys or girls on my side like that just
Mhm.
want to get after it. And if you got
Exactly.
that, you feel like you got a shot every single night. Last couple things here, just
Yeah.
for you on a personal level, like what's like some of like your just core values? Doesn't gotta be, necessarily basketball related. It can be coaching related. Just like
Mhm.
some values that you kind of live by on a daily basis.
Yeah, that's a great question. Um, it's funny. Kind of one of the things we talk about Quinnipiac is attitude. And when I was at Randolph Macon, we talked about E plus R equals O, which means event plus response equals your outcome. And it kind of has a lot to do with attitude as well. There's definitely a lot of overlap, but those two things I've kind of sat with me the longest, and kind of understanding kind of how life is and going through life, and being in situations I've been in. I think attitude is so important. I'm kind of stealing that one that I learned, but it's taught me so much about kind of just trying to keep everything in perspective, and things aren't as bad as they may seem. So just keep things in perspective. Like, you can be in worse situations. And so, I'm definitely grateful for where I am. And like like I said, like, I wouldn't trade anything I've done the past couple of years to get to where I am for the world. I think another core value of mine is just being held accountable. I think a lot of what we do, working with young men and young women, is the process of accountability. Being reliable. As a player, that was something huge for me. I didn't want to let those older guys down because of something I did. That's something that's kind of always stuck with me, and I think trying to instill that in our guys and teach them, it's super important. It's a piece of growing up, accountability, being where you're supposed to be, providing. As they grow to be young men, young women, go on to start lives. That's what's important. That's what's asked of them every day. No matter what's kind of going on, the world is it's an interesting place once you step outside the door. There's people from all walks of life, and everyone has stuff going on, and sometimes people aren't going to stop to ask how's your day going. You got to sometimes push through and get through those tough days, but you'll be better on the other side that comes out. Attitude, accountability, and then um, really, those are the main two. I'd say attitude and accountability are just two things I kind of would just hold myself to that standard of.
No, that stuff is big time. Attitude, accountability, attitude, a little bit of Villanova, right? Coming
Yeah.
over from Dunleavy, yeah. No, but having those two as your core values is absolutely big time. The last thing here, and it's kind of my ethos. It's kind of what I'm all about, and kind of what I want all the other people that I work with or really interact with. It doesn't really, matter. Is really becoming and being the best version of yourself. So my question for you, Bradley, is what is the best version of Bradley Jacks? What does that look like?
On a daily basis.
On a daily basis, yeah.
That's a great question. That's not one I've thought a lot of, but I'd say, what is the best version of Bradley Jacks? I like that. I like that. You know, I think Bradley Jacks is still trying to figure out what the best version of Bradley Jacks is, but I think for me, the best version of Bradley Jacks is, I'd say, waking up every day with kind of just a chip on my shoulder. Kind of the same chip I kind of had when I was a player, just like, wanting to prove myself, but also, willing to work, willing to like put my hard hat on. I think it's, being able to touch guys' lives, being able to every day, like, hit all 14 guys and be like, hey, like, how's your day going? That's kind of the best version of Bradley Jacks, being able to reach out, going outside of myself. For me as a player, that was kind of one of my struggles. When I was having a bad day, is kind of get outside of my comfort zone. And that was something, my former head coach, Stephen Brennan, kind of always told me is, when things are going bad for you, you got to give energy to other people. And, that's something I didn't really get it at all. Like, my former head coach be like, you got to be a cash register guy. And I'm like, what is a cash register guy? What is this man talking about? And he's saying every time I press a 5, I better get a 5 back. And like, just like, okay, so like that's like the best version of yourself, right? Like you know what you are, you have to be what you are every day. And so like for me, that was like, dang, okay. Like that makes more sense. So like on days when like things weren't going good for me as a player, he was trying to tell me, try to give more to someone else because that'll get you going. And it's like it's a crazy concept that it's hard to understand, but it somehow works. And so for me, like even days that are tough for me, like maybe I didn't get a lot of sleep because I was watching film, doing something, or whatever it may be, trying to give and become personable with other people and see how their days are going because it could probably give me more life to bring up who I am. But I think the best version of myself is being able to just connect with other people, connect with those that I work with. Whether it's giving someone a ride somewhere or getting on the court shooting with them. That's kind of the best version of me is just being available for everyone else. That's at the root of it who I am, and I'm outgoing. I kind of seek human interaction, and so sometimes I'll be sitting in the locker room just hanging out talking with the guys because for me that's a huge piece of just developing a relationship, developing trust because I know when push comes to shove, when we're in the trenches working, like they'll be able to respond to me and connect with me because, I think ultimately the thing we have to understand as coaches, even as young coaches, is, you know, these young men and women just want to be heard. They want to feel seen. They want to feel like they're important. And so if I can do that in any role, from what I am, I want them to understand, like, I've been through what you've been going through. Like, I know what it's like being a college kid. Like, I know what it's like having a tough day, taking a tough exam, and going right to practice. Like, so, I think for me, it's the best version of Bradley Jackson being able to give up who I am and, making sure our group is okay. So that's the best version of me in terms of work on a daily basis.
That's an incredible answer, Bradley. Like, I know you're like, damn, like, I haven't really thought about it, but no, that was a well thought out, really good answer. And you've been tremendous on this call, really.
Man.
So I'm so appreciative for you to come on. Sports conversation with James Navalance on the Believe Network. I mean, Bradley Jacks here, Quinnipiac men's basketball assistant. I really appreciate your time, Bradley.
Man, thank you, James. I appreciate you having me on, man.
Of course, man. I know you guys are gonna kill it in the MAC. I can't wait to follow it kind of throughout the year. And I know you're gonna do big things. So, but we'll continue to be in touch. So I appreciate it, really.
For sure, my bro. Stay up.